Well, haven't done one of these in, a very long time. I think my mom still has some of my old ones from when I was in middle school, but I don't think I've written in a diary since I dotted my I's with hearts and doodled X's and O's in the margins. It's a shame. I haven't done it in so long. But that's what fresh starts are for, right? So, for the first time in a very long time, dear diary, I just moved into this little town yesterday. I'm finally out of the city and away from all its noise. Yay. That was an easy move, with the fact that I didn't bring hardly anything with me, just whatever I could stuff into my little Suburban. Jeez, what a trooper. But it does mean that I slept on my mattress on the floor yesterday, surrounded by a mountain of boxes and the worst echo. Not gonna lie, it's a little creepy. Especially with the outside noise being so clear, but it'll be cute and homey when I get some furniture and rugs in here. So, I woke up at 5 this morning, again. I guess old habits die hard. But it was a nice, cool morning, and I had been smart enough to unpack my coffee maker last night. The garden and porch in the back are what really sold me this place, and I was right to pick it. Enjoying my coffee while looking out at my garden was something out of a romance novel. Well, almost. Geez, does that garden need work? I don't know who owned the house last, but they really did not attend to this garden well. Even the weeds have weeds. And that half wall in the back might as well not exist behind that tangled mess of different types of crawling plants. But it's got a lot of potential. I think that's enough. I can work with potential. Plus, it has this huge old oak tree right in the middle in its own little square that the path kind of like wraps around. It's got to be a couple 100 years old at this point. Yeah, definitely potential. Well, I spent most of the morning trying to get used to the town, mostly so I didn't have to think about unpacking all those boxes. The town is really cute. It has the cutest little square with a bunch of these cute little shops all around this center town hall with this huge, gorgeous clock tower. It's much easier to park here than trying to park in the city, and it didn't cost me and little Subu a dime to do it. I almost thought I'd be lucky and that I'd be saving money just by not having to pay for all the parking, until I went into the stores. I could spend so many paychecks on just one street of this town square. They have so many cute little shops, little antique stores and flower shops and restaurants. But I think my favorite thing is the little bookshop called The Nook and Cranny. It's owned by this older couple named Frank and Sally. We had a long chat. Apparently, they grew up here, have 2 adult children and 4 grown grandchildren who all moved off to the big city some years ago. The bookshop was started by Frank's dad in the heyday of this town and has been in their family since, but they're not sure if any of the grandkids or kids are going to want to take over it for them so that they can retire, which means that they're left to tend to it until something changes. But they're happy so long as their kids and grandkids are happy. So long as they visit on the holidays. That's Sally's condition anyway. They're so cute. And they were so nice. I just wanted to buy a book to read in my downtime, but they threw in this beautiful diary as a welcome to the town gift. That was so sweet. I couldn't let their kindness go to waste. Hopefully, I'll be able to keep up with this diary. It's been so long since I've kept one, and there's so much to do to settle in. I found a couple of old furniture pieces at a couple of antique stores that I like, but there's apparently an estate sale at one of the houses nearby tomorrow, so I'll check that out first. I also need to go to the next big town over to do my big girl grocery shopping, since this town only has a small little grocer with a very basics. You could mistake it for a small house, it's so small. I'm brought back to my broke college kid days with how empty my fridge and pantry are, but that just means I won't have to worry about finding old condiments that expired in 1969 or whatever, right? Well, I don't have internet yet, but it'll be coming tomorrow, so I'm gonna enjoy my evening off the grind before Johnson hounds me about deadlines again. I think I'm gonna like it here. It's quiet. A perfect place for a fresh new start. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary. So, it's been a flurry of so many things that I almost forgot to keep up with this diary. I went to that estate sale today that I was recommended, and that was definitely worth it. We got a bit of history on this house and the owner, who recently had passed away without any surviving relatives. It was both tragic and heartwarming, and I teared up a little on the ride back home. Turns out this woman, Mrs. Elizabeth Jane, was a widow whose husband had built her this house as their forever home after his stint in the military, promising to start a family when he got out. But he had passed a week before they got the keys, so he never got to live in the house himself. They'd been childhood sweethearts, apparently, and promised to have a big, loving family when she finished college and he finished his stint in the military. Turns out they had some trouble getting pregnant and never had their own children, and when he died, she never remarried or even took off her ring. But when she moved into the house, she devoted herself to that loving family that her husband and herself dreamed of. As it turns out, she ran a foster home and fostered so many children that the entire town just called her Mama Liz. Isn't that sweet? Kind of felt really bad being there looking for furniture, honestly. But apparently she had a will and a knack for knowing things she shouldn't. Or at least that's what Mrs. DaCosta says. She's the one who was running the sale. As it turns out, there was a clause in the will that said that some specific furniture should go free of charge to anyone new to the town. It was interesting timing, but I think Mrs. DaCosta was playing it up for the townsfolk as one last show of goodwill and mystery from Mama Liz. But apparently this town is super small, so everyone knew I had just moved in. Is this what small town gossip is? Well, I can't complain. The 3 pieces I got gifted to me were beautiful. A teak dresser that her husband had made for her when they were married, a cream-colored couch with beautiful dark oak, and this gorgeous dark wood bed frame. So, no bed on the floor tonight. I'll need to get some wood oil for these pieces tomorrow, though, since they are thirsty. As I was heading back home, I found myself thinking a lot about Mama Liz. Mrs. DaCosta read her last words, and I can't get them out of my head. Don't cry for me when I'm gone. I lived my life to the fullest. Now I am finally going to see my beloved Henry again, and I will be freed from this quiet loneliness. I regret nothing. It's funny. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I can't help but feel that loneliness already. I mean, I just moved here. I haven't been here for very long, but I'm feeling like this house is already echoing with that loneliness. I can't help but want someone here with me. Someone I can talk to about anything. Someone who can fill up the space. I thought filling up with furniture would help. It hasn't. But you know what? Maybe I just don't have enough furniture yet. Maybe it's just new place jitters. Maybe I'm just lonely. whatever it is, I know I'll get through it, and tomorrow is a brighter day. So here's to hoping that I can actually keep up with this thing, and here's to hoping that this really is a new chapter in my life. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, I think I moved here at the perfect time. It's just starting to hit fall and the air is starting to turn that nice and crispy cool that feels so good. I've never seen the leaves turn before. I mean, I've seen it in movies and things, of course, but to see them in real life? I never knew it started at the tops of the trees like that. That fall-colored gradient that's already starting. Oh, it's so beautiful. I've already picked a gradient of the colored leaves from that old oak tree in the backyard, and I have them pressing in my flower press, which I am very glad that I brought. I think I'm going to add them to this diary in like a little envelope when they're done. That'll be cute, right? As long as I remember. I think there are still books I haven't opened in years that have pressed flowers and leaves in them. Other than the leaves and the air, which I swear is sweeter smelling out here. I think the way this little town handles autumn is just better than the big city. I've already seen several different posters for various fall-themed activities here. Sally practically threw them at me when I went to the shop again earlier. I'll put them in here too, if I remember. Sally gave me the lowdown, so there's a corn maze opening up in one of the farms, which is apparently something they've done for over 100 years. The same family, the Robinson family, has been running this corn maze the entire time, and it just keeps getting bigger every year. On the week leading up to Halloween, they change it up to be a haunted corn maze. Apparently, they compete every year with the local haunted house, which is run by a different family farm using an old barn house. It's the Bleasdale family that runs that one, but they don't have a flyer yet. Sally says that usually comes out a little bit closer to Halloween, so I'll have to keep an eye out. The local high school is putting on a modern take of Frankenstein, apparently, as a subversion to AI, which could be interesting. And all the proceeds go to fixing up the school, so it might be worth a ticket just for that. The town square is going to be putting on a couple of parades for the harvest and for Halloween, which I think will be adorable. There's apparently a local celebrity who's going to be making an appearance. Sally won't tell me more, so I guess I'll have to go see for myself. There's also a bunch of movies that the local community center will be putting on in projectors in the park, which apparently they do for almost every holiday with different snacks and drinks provided by the city council, which is really cute. I think I'm looking forward to that or picking the most. Sally wants to take me out picking for apples and pumpkins later this week. The apples will be good to try out that new cast iron juicer I bought because of that guy that keeps popping up when I'm doom scrolling, which is a fun plus because I don't think I have a choice in joining Sally on these outings. Frank won't go with her. She says it's because Frank's knees are too bad to walk the patches now, but I think she's just saying that because she doesn't want me to go alone. Or secretly, Frank has no interest. Either which way, it feels nice to be included. I'm looking forward to everything coming with this new season. It's unreal how this community partakes in all of it. Everyone's already running around, setting everything up. I feel a little out of shape at the thought. Which I actually do need to fix. I haven't found a gym that works for me yet. There's the local YMCA, but I'm not sure it's quite what I'm looking for. It's a little dingy and half the machines don't work. I need a place to work out that's a little more calming and motivating than a 10-foot by 10-foot square room with buzzing lights and equipment that doesn't work. I don't need the most modern amenities, but that's a little depressing. There isn't even a window. Maybe I'll take up a sport or something instead. I don't know. What I do know, if any of these events come with food, I'm going to need some way to work out. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, it's been a while since I've been able to write here. I blinked and it's December. I feel like it's been such a fast year and I've had so many life changes. It seems like just yesterday I was struggling to make ends meet, and now I'm working remote in the cutest little town that I'm coming to adore. So, for a quick catch-up for what happened between my last entry and this one, I went to the haunted house, the corn maze, the parade, and then spent the next month working and getting sick. I even missed Thanksgiving because I was so sick. I was sad because we're not doing a Christmas party this year. That was my older sister's idea. Mom hurt her hip last year and had to get it replaced, so she's still recovering, and her and Dad have wanted to go to Hawaii for eons. So we got them an early Christmas present in the form of a trip for the two of them, all expenses paid. All of my siblings are married, 2 with children, so it's agreed that we'll meet up for New Year's, but they'll be spending Christmas together. I was the only one who was in question since I'm single, but I think it'll be good for them to get out and enjoy the sun and surf, and I know they'll have fun. Plus, my siblings don't have to decide which family they'll go with, or worse, they'll bounce between both sides of the family and wear themselves out. It'll be interesting. I've never spent Christmas alone. But hey, my family already sent over Christmas gifts to put up under my tree when I get one up. And Mom got all of us kids an advent calendar this year, so it's still really sweet, and I know they're still thinking of me. I think I'll take this opportunity to possibly start my own traditions. Starting with this. I want to make a bit of a better habit of writing in my journal more regularly, so I'm making myself write in this thing every day until Christmas. By the end of the 25 days, I'll probably go back to writing every week abouts. But for now, I want to strong-arm the journaling. Plus, I think it'll encourage me to try new things this season. I have a list of things I want to try. There's a lot of options here. If I thought this town liked Halloween, I had no idea what was coming. Christmas. Whoa! Christmas here is nuts. It's the 1st of December in the town square, and half the houses are already half decorated. Apparently, there's more things going up to decorate the town square, at least according to Sally and Frank. Can't imagine how. This place already looks like a Christmas paradise. Every lamppost is covered in greenery. Fake snow has already been put up on the tops, and even the parking meters have been decorated to look like they're wrapped like little Christmas gifts. I'm excited to see what they do to decorate. When I told Sally I was staying in town for Christmas, she invited me to Mass on Christmas Eve at midnight, so I'll probably go. Sally's been so nice to me, and she assured me that it isn't a problem that I'm not religious. I told her I was wanting to start doing my own thing and spend my time alone trying a bunch of different things while I can, see what sticks next year, and just exploring. Sally suggested a few things, so I compiled a list of things that I want to do that I have hung on my fridge. It'll be a countdown of activities until Christmas. For today, I needed to go grocery shopping anyway, so I picked up some stuff to try different recipes tomorrow as well. I also did a little bit of Christmas decoration shopping. I have a new home. I have a lot more home to decorate. I had gone into the city for grocery shopping since the whole being sick thing kept me out of the store until my pantry looked like my college days. Again. But I didn't really vibe with the decorations at TJ Maxx. But I'd seen this little store online that was off the highway between the city and home, so I decided to drop in. best decision. This little shop was absolutely filled with Christmas decorations for sale, and their specialty? Gnomes. Oh my god, they were so cute. I spent way more in that place than I should have, but now I have bags full of yarn balls and garland, wood ornaments, gnomes galore, including a 4-foot tall one, and a cute little winter village alpine ski resort that reminds me of my grandma's house when she was hosting Christmas. I'll get them set up sometime this week. I'll need to get a tree first. I'm thinking about going for a real tree this year. There's a Christmas tree farm not far from here, so I'll pick that up and then I can start decorating. I want to indulge in the season. I feel like I've lost a lot of whimsy in my life. A lot of the fantastical and joyful parts of life are missing. I want to capture that again. I also want to pull myself away from my work. I started my first tradition of watching a Christmas movie for every day in December leading up to Christmas. Today was Jingle All the Way, and I forgot how much fun and silly that movie was. I think the silly, holiday-soaked fun was exactly what I needed to get into the holiday spirit already. I feel like a kid again. I can't wait for tomorrow. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, on the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a cat. Yeah, so I have a cat now. I was doing some winterizing in the garden to get ready for the snow that the weatherman insists is coming. I spent ages getting the garden cleaned up and winterizing the beds to prepare. I was listening to an audio podcast, so I didn't hear it at first, but at some point between the different episodes, I heard tiny little meowing. I thought it was the neighbors at first, but when I listened closer, I realized it was coming from one of the garden beds that I hadn't gotten to yet. I almost didn't see him at first. Between his size and his coloring, I had a hard time seeing him through that dark mulch, but there he was, curled up under some plants. Tiny little black cat. I have no idea how he got there. Probably found a hole in the fence and decided to try and get warm among my plants. Or maybe that's just as far as he could make it before he collapsed. He was super weak and very docile when I picked him up. He barely did more than meow, and he was super cold. I took him inside and warmed him up against me and got him some water. It took a little coaxing, and he had to warm up a little before he would drink. I wanted to make sure that he was healthy and that I was doing things right and that he wasn't a missing pet, so I headed to the vet. I don't know if he's just particularly docile or if he was just that weak, but he didn't freak out during the car ride, which was a relief. I think he was feeling a bit better being bundled up and in a warm car because he was a little more active when we got to the vet. I've never been to this vet before, but they were extremely nice. It was a family-run vet, and the grandfather was the doctor who took care of the little kitten. The little guy was extremely popular, I will say. They were absolutely cooing over him, and I don't blame him. He's got the biggest, cutest green eyes that just stare in the most adorable way. He was checked for a chip, but even before getting back the results, they were pretty sure he wasn't going to have one. I forgot how close-knit this town was. They said they hadn't had a black cat in the village for several years and hadn't heard about any new black cat. Pretty much everyone who has an animal in this town comes here to get them taken care of, so they know basically every pet in town. After checking the little guy out, the vet says he'll be fine with some rest, warmth, food, and water, and he gave me a plan going forward. He was surprised with how good he looked being left on his own in the wild. Barely needed a flea bath. When I got him back, he was a lot livelier and meowing aggressively at me and pawing at my face. He's fairly trusting already. Not a claw or bite to be had. I really hope he's not someone else's. I'm already getting attached. The receipt from the pet store can attest to that. I couldn't let my little man go without being spoiled. It's so close to the holiday. There are so many cute things. I got him all the necessary stuff, of course. food, dry and wet, bowls, litter box, bed, crates, etc. But I also got him cute stuff. I got him a couple of collars and different plaids with little bells on them. They're detachable in case they're too much for him, but he seems to enjoy it. I've even seen him batting at himself to make them ring. He's a cute but curious little guy already. I also got him a bunch of toys to play with too, almost all of them Christmas themed, which is too cute. I think the string toy is his favorite so far. If he stays with me and we don't find anybody to claim him, I think I'm going to get him a cat tree. He already loves climbing everywhere, though he tends to stick beside me. Currently, he's curled up next to me on the bed. We're watching How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version, of course. And as soon as it was turned on, the kitty passed out next to me. He's like an old man falling asleep in his chair as soon as the game's turned on. I'm sure he was just worn out, but it was cute. I barely got the movie on before he was out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have trouble giving up this little cutie if someone does come forward to claim him. I think I'm gonna call him Noir. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary. It's a good thing I found Noir when I did. I woke up this morning to snow. It was so beautiful and honestly so perfect for today. I can't set up my Christmas decorations until I grab my tree, which I'll probably do on Saturday, but I've got groceries. I worked hard to finish my work early so I'd have time to work on all these treats and gather all the recipes I wanted to try. I managed to finish work at about 3 p.m., put on the Rankin Bass films, and started cooking. I think I need to make a winter playlist. That would be even better to make treats to, and I think it'll be nice to have for decorating. Anyway, I did some of the classics for my family. Walnut roca, I think it's called English toffee too. Peanut butter blossoms, rosettes, and krumkake. I realized, as I had to text my mother again for the recipe, that I've never written these down, so I'm going to write them now. So I know where they are when I do eventually get to writing them down in a dedicated recipe book. Or maybe I'll store these cards in a recipe box eventually. But for now, they're here. Noir did get himself covered in sugar, though, so he needed a bath. Little dork managed to get up on the counter while I was changing out the peanut butter blossoms and pawed at the sugar that I was using to coat them. Managed to dump it over his little head and knock down half my utensils in his escape attempt. He did not like the bath. Perhaps he's more energetic from being well rested now, because he's kind of a menace. I've had to chase him down 3 times to keep him from eating some of the plastic for my ingredients. And they eventually settled down when I put him in the hood of my hoodie, which was so stinking cute. He spent most of the day there, only popping up occasionally when he smelled something new, and would put his paw on my cheek whenever he was looking to make sure that I was too. He'd smack me if I wasn't looking with him. He seemed to be most curious when I started drying the oranges. I don't know what, but I felt compelled to make dried fruit garlands. It's something I've seen all over the internet, and it's a really cute aesthetic and fun to use the last of the oranges that I hadn't juiced with that huge juicer. God, I love that thing. So I figured I'd give that a try. It's honestly really easy. Just preheat the oven to 200, slice small rings of oranges, press out the extra juice with a paper towel, line a baking sheet with parchment paper, lay them down on one layer, spaced apart so they're not touching, of course, and keep them in the oven for 4 hours, flipping every hour or so. Super easy. And since I wanted to make them into garland, I used a little toothpick to poke holes in the tops and bottoms. I've kept them in a bowl for now on my counter, which is honestly cute by itself. But I'll make them into garland later when I get to decorating. I was thinking of sending a small basket of goodies to Sally and Frank for all they've done for me, since I made way more than I should eat. I really do need to find a place to work out. All of these sweet treats are great, but I feel so weighed down and getting stuck up in this place. I still haven't found a place I want, so I need to go out. I need to find a nice place to work out. Something a little more outdoors would be nice. I don't think I've done much in the way of working out since I moved here, and I really need to fix that. It's strange how hard it is to keep up an active lifestyle when you don't go into work. It's hard to get up in the morning, too. I always feel a little better when I get a win, and I feel like the momentum helps me start the day and clears my head. I'll have to take another look around to find something. Maybe I'll ask around or something, see if anyone knows some good spots. I'll put it on the list tomorrow, probably. I need to start making a list at some point of things I still need to do. I know I want to find a gym or someplace to work out regularly. I also want to find a book club or some kind of socializing club thing. I also have a few places I want to go for the holiday season. There's a Christmas market not too far away from town and an ice skating rink that hosts adult beginner courses every Thursday, and I am a noob. But that's for tomorrow, Violet. For tonight, I think Noir is getting grumpy that I'm not in bed. So, love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, so about that place to work out, it's funny. Apparently, I missed when I put my phone on the charger last night. I headed to Frank and Sally's store to give them the goodies and went driving around for a little while, but ended up getting lost on my way back. When I swallowed my pride and went to turn on my GPS on my phone, something that I've been trying to get into the habit of not doing, the damn thing wouldn't even show me the low battery sign. I'd wondered why I didn't have half a dozen emails from work. It was bliss. Well, anyway, I was trying to head home off memory and ended up almost making it, but turned the wrong direction on the street before my house and ended up on this one way that was hard to turn around in for a while, so I just kind of ended up following the road. Turns out it leads to this park that surrounds this beautiful lake called Crystal Lake. The park is so cute and has a huge walking trail around the lake. I think this is exactly what I was looking for. I'll head there tomorrow, but the path looks like it's getting shoveled regularly, which is good. I think I'll be able to head there in the morning without too much trouble. I took a look around, and it's beautiful. According to the little plaque at the entrance of the trail, it's about 1.5 miles for one loop, which works perfectly for my usual 3 miles. It even goes over a little bridge. I was absolutely not going to be able to work out in my usual gear, though. It is way too cold for my little exercise shorts. So when I made it back home and got my phone charged and gave Noir a bunch of attention, I took a trip back to the store and got some warmer workout gear. And I was a little naughty, but there's a bunch of really cute vintage-looking dresses that I just couldn't resist. They're nice and warm, and I got a few really cute outfits. I got this super cute dark blue cotton dress, faux fur lined, with this cute little shawl. A gray wool cloak with this beautiful Nordic knot pattern along the hem. A red plaid dress with a fitted bodice and a pleated skirt and a big old bow on the back with lace at the hem. Plus, I got several different fluffy skirts to go under, I got some tights, and I got some boots. Merry Christmas to me! I also stopped by the pet store and found Noir one of those cat capsule backpack thingies. He was super not happy with me for not taking him with, so we're going to try the capsule and my heated blanket, see how he does tomorrow morning. If he likes going on trips with me, maybe I'll take him with me every day. Make it a morning routine for us, who knows. For now, I've got him next to me. He finally stopped pouting on the other side of the couch and snuggled up with me because it's cold. Can't blame him. I did leave him twice in one day for several hours. We're watching A Night Before Christmas for this day, and I adore how corny it is. It's cute and wholesome and kind of makes me sad, if I'm being honest. It's a little lonely. But it's fine. It'll be fine. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, Noir loves walking. I had heard that cats tend to not like that sort of thing, but he was so chill being in the capsule and walking with him. I preheated the blanket before I put it in the capsule with him, and it seems to have kept him warm enough. He would meow occasionally, but I think he was just seeing things he liked, because when I tried to take him out, he batted at my hand like a little brat. It was nice to be able to walk around again and get some exercise, though. Noir isn't very large, but it was kind of good to have the extra weight, too. It was like a challenge. I do have to be careful on that bridge, though. If you do not keep to those non-slip pads, you're going to end up eating a lot of shit. The wood gets deceptively icy. I managed to save myself on the first step, but whew, it was close. It did remind me to sign up for ice skating lessons this weekend, though, so I'll take that as a win, I guess. I took Noir with me to the coffee shop for a little after-workout pick-me-up, and I almost didn't get to drink my coffee at all. He was cooed at by every stranger in a 5-mile radius. I think he got to his ego. Little puffball has been all chuffed with himself for the rest of the day. After the coffee shop, I decided to head to the library to check out some books to read over the holidays. While there, I happened to get a peek at the local bulletin board that had a bunch of flyers on it for different clubs. There were 2 that looked particularly cute, so I took a picture of the info. One was a book club started by this local author, which looked very cute and meets on Saturday afternoons, so I might go check it out tomorrow. Apparently, they're going over the Lunar Chronicle series, which I happen to have read, so it should be an easy fit. The other was a D&D club looking for new players for a short holiday-themed one-shot. I think it'd be a good way to get in and see if I vibe with a group in person. I've always wanted to be a part of a long-term campaign, but I'm pretty picky about who I play with since it's such a personal game and such a time commitment. I think a one-shot is a good way to test the waters, and who knows, it might turn into something more. That would be nice. I picked up a couple of books while there, too. I got a little overzealous, though, so I'm not sure I'll be able to read them all before they're all due. But I'll probably treat it like a sampler platter of sorts. See what I like, write down where I'm at in certain stories, and keep track. Things like that. It was a beautiful library, and I could spend hours in it. Apparently, there was a lot of renovations done recently. According to Charles, the librarian, there was a lot of new public works projects that started when this new mysterious widower moved in. This place has a lot of weird rumors, if I'm being honest. The widower is apparently someone who moved into town not too long ago and has been funding a bunch of projects in town since he moved in, and even donated a bunch of really old books to the library, which is cool. They're all stamped, apparently, with a seal that says Library of, followed by something written in a language that no one knows how to read. I'll have to check out some of his books sometime, just for kicks and giggles. See what the old rich guy dropped off at the library. I had work to get done before the weekend, so when I got home I didn't do much else but that. But boy, did that end of work Friday hit. I spent the rest of the day curled up with Noir, who was very content, and we watched Christmas in Connecticut, which I hadn't seen for a while, but is one of my mom's favorites. It's funny how well an old black and white movie can hold up with such a simple concept. It was cute, and I took some time to do some self-care while I watched. Fix my nails, getting my face mask going, things like that. Noir got a face mask too, in the form of a paper towel with little holes cut in it. He was not pleased. But I got a picture of him, so it was worth it. I also got a little bit of reading done on this story that's like a retelling of Hades and Persephone, which I'm interested in hopefully finishing if I have the time. But that being said, it was a perfectly relaxing and fantastic ending to a pretty fantastic work week. I can't wait for the weekend. I have so much planned. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, oh Christmas tree, why do you smell so pretty? I'm not gonna lie, I've had way too much fun today. I'd brought up the fact that I was planning on hitting the tree farm on Saturday to Sally, and lo and behold, Frank shows up at my doorstep in his little old red Ford truck. Oh, yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking. The envy of every suburban mom's home decor for the Christmas season. We were that little red Ford truck with the Christmas tree in the bed. Frank helped me pick one out that was a good size. I didn't even think about the fact that I'd need to think about the height of my living room ceiling. But luckily, this isn't his first rodeo, so he made sure to get the height. Well, he didn't exactly measure it, but he guessed at the height and got it right. It was an educated guess, mind you, and didn't need to be exact or anything, but I wouldn't have had the foggiest idea of the height of my living room ceiling. The tree farm was so cute, and there was a fresh layer of snow, so it looked like something out of a Hallmark Christmas movie. I was expecting some handsome, jacked man with some generic male lead name to own it, and to be swept away from my corporate job in the big city to live a life baking cupcakes and Christmas cookies. But that's not what happened. It was an older set of brothers who owned it, and they were very excited to help me pick out my first tree. They were really nice, and we found a perfect tree that's just a little taller than I am, so it fits really nicely in my living room. Frank helped me get it in the house and set it up. I will say the thing shed everywhere on the way in, but that's to be expected with a real tree, and it smells so good in my house. I honestly don't even mind the needles. After Frank left, I put on Die Hard, my favorite Christmas movie, and started working on decorating my whole house. Not gonna lie, that took longer than I thought. It took the whole movie to decorate just the tree to my liking, which was probably extra long because I had to actually make the fruit garland, but it looked so cute in the tree. And the lights were a pain to figure out at first, but I'm so happy with how it turned out. It did kill my back a little bit, working around the tree and having to stretch a lot to reach the top. I probably should have grabbed a stool at some point. So I took a little break for lunch and started working on that winter playlist I've been wanting to do for a while. I wanted a more wintry, snowy vibe, rather than a Christmassy one, though I'll make one of those later too. So it ended up as a lot of video game music, but I really like the vibe it set as I decorated the rest of my house. This house has a fireplace, so I got to hang up stockings. It was sad with only one stocking, so I added one for Noir. It feels weird filling your own stockings, so it's just there for decoration, but Noir will get his filled for fun. Since no one's coming forward to claim him, I'm going to assume I'm keeping him. It's only been a few days, but I'm hopeful. I got the presents my family gave me already under the tree, and I've got to say, that puts me in a festive mood for sure. There's just something about presents under a real decorated tree that's so nice to look at. I almost don't want to open them on Christmas. Almost. But I've got weeks before then, so I can just enjoy it for now. I got up to the little ski lodge, and I can immediately see why my grandma had dozens of these. It looks so cute, but so lonely by itself. I immediately want more, but I'm gonna try to limit myself and build it up slowly over the years. Decorating took a lot out of me, but I love the way my house looks now. I put on the fire since it's starting to get cold, and Noir loved it. I like the warmth, but the light and the sound with that music, that's what makes it better. I feel like I should have been doing this my whole life, even if it was just sound and lighting off the TV, since I didn't have a fireplace growing up. It was the perfect setting to finish off the day wrapping presents. I've had these presents for ages, since I'm always the type to grab birthday and Christmas presents throughout the year, but I got lazy when it came to wrapping them, so I didn't get them to my family over Thanksgiving, which means more money spent on shipping. Oops. Oh well. I have a job for a reason, right? And I'll be spending more tomorrow. My wallet's gonna hate Christmas. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary. Ow. 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 I'm putting this here so I remember. Ice skating takes place on the ice, which means you don't feel the pain even after falling for the 100th time. It was fun, and I want to do it again, but not at the cost of my backside and knees. I need to be better at this, so I'm not falling all of the time. I'm trying to decide if I'm embarrassed or not. The instructor was so handsome, and I was falling. A lot. But he seemed to have a good sense of humor about it, and was very patient with me, so when? I wasn't the only one falling either, so it wasn't that noticeable, I think. I want to go skating again next week, but I might do some balancing exercises before that because I do not want to fall on the ice again. But otherwise, it was a blast and I had a lot of fun, even if I looked like a newborn fawn. The instructor, when I wasn't distracted by falling or how hot he was very good at explaining how to skate. At least, I think so. I think I was getting better. Hopefully. Gods, I really don't want to fall again. We were skating for 2 hours, and there were a couple people that I got to talk to while we were skating. This one woman ran into me, and we both fell. She was so cute and really apologetic. She tried to help me out, but we both ended up falling again and having a good laugh about it. We spent the rest of class together and talking. Her name is Amelia, and she's a more recent addition to the town. She grew up here, but moved out for nursing school. She moved back here into town about 5 years before I got here to help her mom, when her mom started having trouble handling the housework with her declining health. Amelia works at the local hospital as a nurse. She's honestly really sweet, and we had a really easy time talking to each other. As I was taking off my skates, we got to talking about reading when I mentioned that I'll probably be curling up with my cat and doing that tonight. She mentioned reading too and mentioned the book club I was planning on going to yesterday before I got caught up decorating. When I brought it up, she said I should check it out next Saturday and that she'll be there. We exchanged numbers and I'll meet up with her on Saturday for the book club. After my ice skating class, since it's the end of the week and I was getting sore already as I started to defrost, I wanted to get myself a treat in the form of some self-care pampering. There was this cute local nail salon that did simple but cute nails. They're pretty basic, but the hand massage that came with the manicure was well worth it. It felt like all of my stress was stored in my hands because the moment she started working on them, it felt like she was melting away my stress. I went to the store after to get something I have been wanting to do for a long time. I got me a bunch of stuff to make a cute little hot cocoa bar. It's like an alcohol bar, but for hot cocoa. I got a couple of different types of hot cocoa, including milk chocolate, white chocolate, and a mint. I think the mint is my favorite, honestly. I also got a bunch of mix-ins as well, which I put into a bunch of cute little mason jars with those spring caps that lock down and tiny little wooden spoons. I grabbed some peppermint chips, mini marshmallows, obviously, cinnamon, coconut, and sprinkles, as well as some whipped cream and caramel drizzle, which do end up going back into the fridge when I'm not using them. I grabbed a couple of cute mugs and a wooden tray and made a little station on my sideboard next to my table, which makes me happy every time I pass it. Today I went for a combo of milk chocolate, marshmallows, and peppermint chips, with some whipped cream on top. It was the perfect drink to have while curling up with Noir and watching Klaus. We even put the fire back on. It was so cozy and such a good bookend for the weekend, leading me into the new week. I'll probably curl up with Noir in the bed and read one of my library books until I fall asleep. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, I met a very strange man today during my walk this morning with Noir. He was an older man, graying at the temples type, in a really nice suit. If he wasn't wearing a big old fur-lined coat over his shoulders, I probably would have been concerned, given the weather. I'm not sure how he still had toes, but hey, maybe those patent leather shoes are warmer than I think. Or he's wearing wool socks. Even with 2 layers of socks in my sneakers, my feet still get cold on the run. Anyway, he was talking as I passed, and I swear I heard him say something along the lines of the person on the other side of the phone call not being allowed to have an opinion because they don't wear pants. I couldn't even help myself. Given the meow I got when I skidded to a halt and barked out a laugh, I'd say Noir did not enjoy the sudden stop. That got the man's attention, unfortunately, and since I'd stopped, I couldn't really pretend or keep moving. I don't know if he hung up. I never saw a phone, so I assume he just stayed on call with whoever he was talking to on what I assume was an earbud. Or maybe he had one of those glasses that call people. The ones he was wearing were pretty chunky. Either way, he didn't hang up, but locked eyes with me. So I had to apologize for laughing, since it was a little rude of me to be eavesdropping like that, and ruder still to laugh, even if both are technically unintentional. He introduced himself as Stephen and referred to me by name before I could do the same. I've gotten used to it at this point. Most of the people in town know who I am, or can take a guess off the fact that they haven't seen me before. But there was still something strange about the way this guy was looking at me. Like he knew more than he let on. We talked a little bit about the weather, asked how I liked the town, the usual small talk stuff. I was getting fairly good at that at this point. But then he asked about Noir. Not about my cat. He asked about Noir by name. I don't think I answered him for a good 30 seconds. I was startled. He mentioned something about Noir being a good companion for me, and that he was right to choose me as his owner, that I had a lot of potential, and that I was right to come to town when I did, or I wouldn't have the protection I needed. I tried to ask for a clarifier, but he just stared off back down the path and said he had to go before leaving with only a pat on the arm and a soft little goodbye. Like I said, strange. It took me a while to get back to my run, and by the time I got home, I was still thinking about it. It wasn't until I started working that I stopped thinking about it for a while. When I was done with work, I decided that I was done going out for the day and just stayed inside enjoying my hot chocolate of the day while watching White Christmas. I absolutely adore Danny Kaye in that movie. In any movie, really. After the movie, I just spent the rest of the night reading. Or trying to read. Noir would not stop bumping my arm and sitting on my chest. Come to think of it, Noir's bumping the same spot that guy touched me. I wonder if he has cats too. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary. Okay, so apparently that man from yesterday is the widower, the one that Charles, the librarian, was talking about. I finished my book last night, so I headed to the library after work to drop it off and pick up something new. I grabbed a couple this time, since I've been reading a bit more recently than I thought I would. It's been really nice to read before I sleep and when I wake up, so I don't just hit the ground running every day, so I grabbed 3 different books that looked interesting. As I was checking out, I got to talk to Charles, and he noticed that one of the books I'd grabbed was one of the few newer books from the Woodward's library. There is indeed a stamp on the inside cover of the book that has a "From the Library" seal with a name, I assume, in a language that I don't recognize at all. I'd almost guessed it was completely fictional, like Elvish or Klingon. Anyway, Charles brought him up as he was getting my library card so I could get my books and said that I'd just missed him. He'd just been in dropping off some music from his collection to add to the library. I was curious and asked what he looked like, and when he started to explain an older man who's usually sharply dressed and is gray at the temples, I started to describe Stephen from yesterday. When it all matched up, I asked for his name, and sure enough. So it would seem that Stephen comes to the library regularly, both to drop off new media for the library and to just hang out and talk. So he got to talking with Charles. That's how he knew Noir's name. Him and Charles were talking, and I got brought up because it's a small town and I'm new. It wasn't long after I got Noir, so I guess I was talking about him a lot. I told Charles about our interaction, and he helped clear some things up. Obviously, Charles is why Stephen knew Noir's name, and apparently Stephen is a very strong believer in the ability of cats to find their person. But further, the comment about this place protecting me, well, apparently he is the type of man who is very paranoid about economic bubbles and believes that living in a more rural town and stable areas, like this one here, will protect you from said bubble. Which I can't say that he's wrong about. And that did make me feel a little better about yesterday. Guy's just a little weird, just a little quirky, which I can't fault a guy for. Anyway, after the library, I decided to go to the store and grab some quick stuff for the gingerbread house making. I've always wanted to make a gingerbread house, but have never done it before. I think I like gingerbread. I'm not entirely sure anymore. It's all I can smell now that I've spent a few hours cooking it. It took a while to get things figured out, and we're not even going to talk about the disaster that was my first attempt at making the thing, but I was getting the hang of it by the end. Not gonna lie, I didn't realize gumdrops were actually a thing. They're pretty yummy, actually, just little gummy candy. But I made myself a little house that looks actually pretty cute. A little smaller than I planned, and just a little uneven. But it's still cute, and I just covered it at the bottom with some piped icing. I did have to keep Noir on the hood of my hoodie because he kept trying to eat everything and kept sticking his nose in my icing, but he was content to watch me for the most part. He's probably the chillest cat I know once you put him in the hood. I think decorating was my favorite part of the whole process. That or building. I could live without having to make the gingerbread, but making it pretty, that was my jam. I even made a tiny little doorknob for my door, and I tried my hand at icing some of the roof. It only worked so well, but hey, it wasn't bad for my first time. I will not be quitting my day job, though. I put up my little gingerbread house on the other half of my sideboard next to the hot cocoa bar on a crystal cake stand that my mom passed on to me as a moving gift when I got here, because she knew it was my favorite. It's perfect because it has a lid, which makes it look like a little snow globe, especially when I add the powdered sugar snow around the house. And has the added benefit of keeping Noir from trying to eat it. Seriously, this thing weighs almost as much as he does, so there's no way he's getting into it. When that was done, and I was winding down for the night, grabbing my nightly hot cocoa, and I just stared at my little sideboard for a while. It's so festive and warm, and it just makes me so happy. I decided that I needed to watch a particularly sappy Christmas movie today because that was the vibe, so I curled up with Noir and watched Miracle on 34th Street. I cried, and now I'm too sleepy to read, so I will just be heading to bed. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, I hate snow. No, seriously. What do you mean there's going to be 2 to 3 inches of snow an hour? For the next 12. I'm already shoveling every hour just to be able to make sure that I can get my car out of the driveway in case of emergencies. I was working today, so I wasn't really planning on going anywhere, and I would not want to drive in this weather anyway, but it's still exhausting and my back is killing me. I spent a good chunk of my day hiding under the electrical blanket, which at this point is acting like an oversized heating pad for my poor muscles. Noir was not happy about not going on our daily walk. He's already gotten used to it, I think, and he was restless for a few hours after getting up. Since I was stuck inside for so long and wasn't going to be able to do any of the fun exploring things I've been enjoying, I threw myself into my work and got a bunch more stuff done. I got through all of the A's and B's on the list, so the productivity was there at least. That means that tomorrow I could get away with only working for about an hour or two and hit my meetings, and I'd be done. Or I could get Friday's work done on Thursday and have a long weekend. I haven't decided yet. Either way, I got a lot done, so I suppose I'll take that. It's supposed to stop snowing in the wee hours of the morning, and we're not supposed to get more snow until later, so that's something of a relief. I spent most of my night after work winding down with some cozy gaming. I'm excited for the new Animal Crossing expansion, so I decided to keep working on my island in preparation for it. I was kind of surprised how much it made me think. I guess despite all this writing down, all the talking I've done with others, all the time I've had to reflect, I haven't. And I think I should. It's been a crazy year. A huge change. I moved from a big city, bustling with activity, noise, things to do, work to be done. A city where, despite being so close physically to so many people, I didn't feel a connection with any of them. And I know that's my fault. The people were there. I could have talked to them, could have gotten their stories, but it took coming to this quiet town to finally start doing it. Why? I think I'm starting to wonder if I'm the cause. I have Sally, Frank, Charles, and Amelia already, and I've barely been here 4 months, and one of those I was sick for the whole damn thing. And I know I could have more the more people I talk to. But I still feel lonely. I'm surrounded by a crowd of people, and I feel lonely. What's wrong with me? Everyone's smiling and happy and kind, and I make myself feel left out. I shouldn't be feeling this lonely. I have Noir, I have the people here, I have my family, even if I'll be missing them for Christmas. Oh, maybe that's why. I guess I didn't really think about it before. With mom and dad flying to Hawaii, my siblings spending the holiday with their families, and the friends I've made here spending time with their families. Where am I? Is it just gonna be me and Noir on Christmas? Alone? Just myself and my cat? I'm not anyone's number one choice. I just want to be someone's number one choice. I want someone, even just one person, to choose me to spend time with this evening. I want someone, even just one person, to choose me to spend time with this Christmas. Someone other than Noir. I feel bad for wanting it. It's nothing bad on my friends and my family, that they have their other priorities. Of course it isn't. And I don't expect them to drop everything for me. I just want someone who makes me their priority. At least for Christmas. I think I've overworked more than I realized. The last holiday got me thinking too much about life, though it is a fantastic movie, even if it's not technically a Christmas movie. I think I'll read a book before bed and see if I need that day off in the morning. I might need that day off. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, the snow finally stopped. I did decide that I wanted to do the full 3-day weekends, so I did work the full day today so that I could take Friday off. I worked it out with my boss and moved around some of my meetings so I could have it off, which was nice of him. I did manage to get out this morning for the walk again, too. My driveway needed to be shoveled again, but the roads were clear enough. I will say, no longer having to shovel it as much, the snow is beautiful. After work, I decided that I wasn't feeling good about myself, so I decided to do a photo shoot in the fresh snow. I got dressed up in that really cute plaid vintage dress with the cloak over it and grabbed Noir and headed out to Crystal Lake again. I found an area deeper into the woods that had a cute little clearing. My feet were freezing, but it was well worth it, honestly. I did a few shots by myself with my phone on a tripod my friend Cassie gave me before I moved because she wanted pictures, which I haven't been good about keeping up with, other than way too many photos of Noir. I also took some videos, and they turned out so magical. It was just a little whimsical walking away from the camera. It was simple, but I felt like a D&D character. I need some of those leather pouches and belts with the vials and potions and things. I wonder if there's a LARP club around here. I'm planning on going to the D&D thing tomorrow, so maybe they'll know. I've never done LARPing before, but it might be fun if they have something here. Though, that may be too much to ask of this little town. I'm excited for D&D, but also a little nervous. Is it weird that I'm nervous about it? It always feels a little vulnerable to put yourself out there in D&D for some reason, so I hope I can click well with this crew. See if a full campaign can come out of this. I'm already thinking about a character and what class I'll play, even though I doubt I'll use any of the ideas, and we'll just go with whatever I think of in the moment, or what fits the team, or the world. I had a little bit of energy after the photo shoot, and I was dead tired, so I got a little bit of cleaning done. It was a nice refresher, even with having done it recently when I did the decorating. It was nice to have a fresh house again, and I think it'll help going into the long weekend. I've got a few things planned for this weekend. Friday, tomorrow, I'll do D&D. Saturday, I'll be meeting up with Amelia and hitting the book club. Sunday, I'll be going to the ice skating class again. Since I'll be booked, I was winding down with a more cozy Christmas movie and my nightly hot chocolate with Noir. Today's movie was Muppets Christmas Carol, still a classic. I'm excited, again, for the weekend. Or maybe I'm just trying to distract myself. Who knows? Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, D&D was awesome. I was so invested in the story, and it was such a blast that it hardly felt like 6 hours. The DM actually had a couple of characters pre-rolled for us to use since we were new to the one-shot. Funnily enough, the guy who was teaching the ice skating course from Sunday was the DM. And he recognized me, which was mortifying. But he was so sweet about it and didn't make too much fun of me. Though he did teasingly ask how my bruises were healing up, which made me blush, but was really nice of him. There were 4 of us, plus the DM, so a pretty decent-sized crew. We went around the table and introduced ourselves. The DM's name was Clark, and he'd been playing D&D for 15 years and had been a DM for 10 of those. The woman in the pink dress who played the tiefling rogue's name was Annie. The man with the cool coat played the human ranger, and his name was Samson. And the guy with the gray glasses who played the dwarf barbarian was Leo. I could never breathe around Leo. He was so funny that I swear I almost broke a rib a couple of times because I was laughing so hard. He played such a straight-laced barbarian with the funniest comebacks. Apparently, Leo and Clark are old friends and have been playing forever. And Leo was Clark's backup plan in case no one else showed up. I played a half-orc paladin, and I love her to death. I asked Clark if I could keep her by the end, and he just laughed and said she was mine, so hell yes. Morshell, the ever-smiling, belongs to me now. Her backstory is a simple but tragic one. She and her sister grew up in a monastery after their parents died and went on to be a paladin and cleric respectively. Morshell was not the first to get the deal with a god. That was her sister Kasha, who was blessed first by the god Lathander and became a cleric, which fit her bubbly personality that had all people looking past her large size the moment she smiled and crouched to their level. Morshell was even larger and used to be this very stoic and quiet person. After going on this one-woman crusade against the cult that stole her sister, she makes it there too late and finds her sister nearly dead at the altar of their rival god Cyric. It's here, making an oath to her sister that she will fight to protect the lives of others and preserve the smiles of those around her. With the last breath of her sister and her anguished screams of loss, the god Tyr greets her and accepts Morshell's oath on behalf of Kasha, granting her the power to protect in the form of the paladin. God, I love her so much. Her oath is why she's helping Santa. That's right. This one shot is us saving Christmas. It was so cute. We had some fun moments, including a moment where the DM let me throw our dwarf straight at the crystal binding Krampus so that he could help us in the fight against the Dark Lord trying to turn Christmas into a breeding ground for the new cult members. It was an absolute blast, and I have tons of notes, which seemed to make Clark very happy. He's a big fan of note takers, apparently, and wants to see mine at some point. I told him he'd have a hard time reading my chicken scratch, but I could send him photos to decipher on his own time, and I think that's the smoothest way I've ever asked for someone's number. I'm proud, but I also blush every time I think about it. I sent him the pictures while I was watching tonight's movie, The Christmas Chronicles, which felt pretty appropriate for the kind of out-there vibes of the game. He got back to me and said he was really happy that I took such good notes and that I'd caught on to the inspiration he had with the Santa Claus in the game being similar to the one in The Rise of Guardians. He said that he hopes to see me again on Sunday for ice skating and that he'll set up a group chat at some point with the group to plan a full campaign. I was so excited and I haven't stopped smiling since. I'll have to ask if people are allergic to cats at all or if they'd mind me taking Noir. He was not happy with me being gone for so long. Honestly, I might have to get him to a trainer to help with his anxiety, but that'll probably be something for after the holidays. I can't wait to talk to Amelia tomorrow. It's nice to have friends close by again that are my age. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary. God, I love 3-day weekends filled with activities. I'm a bit tired, but it's been a blast talking to people and getting to partake in the little groups. Today we had book club, but Amelia actually asked if I wanted to meet up for brunch beforehand. She said they usually meet up in the evenings, but one of the girls has to leave town tonight for the holidays and isn't going to be back until January, so they were going to do it mid-afternoon instead to accommodate her. This is a special book club meeting. Usually, they meet on the first Saturdays of the month and go over the book they read and pick a new one, which is what happened last Saturday. This book meeting is the end of the year meeting that they all do, which has fun games covering all the books they read in the prior year, and they give out little prizes to the winners for most read, the longest reading streak, and the winner of the quiz. It was nice to get the lowdown on everything before I went. Amelia and I spent most of the meal sitting next to the fire and talking about the club and our days and all of that. She's looking at seeing if she can get in on one of those D&D games at some point and was planning on going to the ice skating class again tomorrow. So we'll be meeting up again and driving down together. She's such a sweetheart and I adore her. She even helped me pick out sweets the girls in the book club would like after we finally finished yapping and eating. When we got to the club meeting at Lim's house, who's a local author and the person who started the book club, they were getting set up still. I got to introduce myself and meet the other girls, Nalima, Yuko, and Leilani. They're all so sweet and welcoming and eager to have another person in the club. Apparently, there was another girl who moved away from the state to be closer to her family and her husband's family while they had their kid, so that's why the bulletin went out to see if anyone would be interested in joining. Plus, they just really love sharing in the stories and laughter of others, which is really cute and not at all surprising that the author said. It was very poetic. We had snacks and talked. Well, they talked. I mostly listened since I had only read a handful of the books they were talking about. They let me play along with the quiz and were super nice, and Amelia and Lilani kept trying to let me cheat off their pages, which was so wholesome. I ended up dead last, to no one's surprise, but it was a blast and makes me really excited to get to be able to try again next year for real. It was such a cozy vibe, even when Nalima had to go to get packed and ready to leave on a red eye to visit her family. The girls gave me a bit of a rundown on how things tend to go around here, and I have a rubric of sorts for next time. Nothing strict, just to get an idea of what they normally do, and Lim even had a little card with details of the next book club, including the date, time, location, and the book that they have planned. It's called Alchemized by Senlin Yu, and it's the one that Amelia actually recommended. They said that next time they'll throw my suggestion into the jar, which is a literal jar with folded pieces of paper inside, and that I should think of a book to read. They gave me an Excel spreadsheet of the books they've read, and now, having looked at it after coming home and curling up with Noir, I can see that they haven't read The Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim yet, so that'll be my suggestion, I think. I ended up leaving there way too late and came home to a very angry cat again, but he forgave me after some treats and playtime and cuddled right up beside me to watch our movie, which was Home Alone this time. I told the girls that I was doing a Christmas movie a day until Christmas, and they thought it was a great idea. They might make movie nights a thing, too. They'd been thinking about meeting more than once a month, but were having trouble figuring out what to do since making 2 books a month a requirement is a lot to ask of working women. So I'm glad I got to inspire them, and I hope that we do end up doing movie nights. They're a fun group already, and I'm enjoying their company and having a little space for myself. Between this and the D&D crew, I feel like someone's up there, out there, or wherever spiritualists or religious deities reside. I feel like they were listening. This is exactly what I wanted when it came to clubs and groups of friends here. And it's helping. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary. Okay, I don't know how I managed it, but I didn't fall a single time today. It's a Christmas miracle. Clark teased me about it, saying something along the lines of not being able to help me now, and Amelia countered with, what do you need an excuse for? I'm very glad I've gotten good at ice skating now. At least good enough to slowly drift away when they started talking. I know it wasn't the cold that had my cheeks red. I think Amelia knows that I'm a little attracted to Clark. I can't help it. He's beautiful, tall, has a gentle smile, a smooth baritone, and is just genuinely a kind man. And Amelia is such a girl's girl, she's already playing wingwoman. Maybe she feels that same close and instant connection that I did. Like we've been friends forever but never met and need to make up for lost time. It's a strange feeling, but a nice one. except when she pulls stunts like the one she pulled when the lesson was done. Clark offhandedly mentioned that he was going to meet up with Leo after dinner since he owed him a meal for some bet he lost. Amelia mentioned wanting to learn D&D and asked if we could come with and have dinner together. The grin she gave me behind Clark's back was devilish, and I'm not entirely certain I haven't made friends with the daughter of Lilith and Aphrodite herself. Well, Clark liked the idea and invited us out to eat with him and Leo. I'm not proud, but I did whine embarrassingly at Amelia when we got to my car to meet him there. But I got her back. Turns out, I can clock her as easily as she can clock me. Leo is definitely her type. Aloof, strong, with a great sense of humor and an unwavering confidence. She was immediately smitten. Do people still say smitten? Well, regardless, I got to do the same thing to her, what she'd done to me, and basically shoved her into the next D&D session. She glared at me while the boys weren't looking, and it was hard not to laugh. We did get to learn a little bit more about the two while we talked. Apparently, the bet had been on who could PR the most on squats, and Leo had just barely won. The two of them met in college at gym because they're both gym rats and nerds, and they bonded over the fact that they were both wearing Critical Role merch for pump covers. And after a few days of noticing each other in the gym and spotting each other and talking about D&D, they were suddenly best friends. I can't really say anything. It's about as much conversation as Amelia and I have technically had, but it's still amazing to hear how fast it all went for the two of them. We spent a good while talking about whatever came up, which was a lot of D&D and, surprisingly, 40K. I've always been into it for the lore and video games. The boys both picked it up a while back for the tabletop game, and Amelia has apparently read more of the books than either of the boys. It was fun to talk to them about nerd stuff. Casey and I were the nerds of my friend group from the city, so it was nice to talk about the stuff again. It was nice to talk again. I almost hate that this weekend went by so fast already. I wanted to live in this weekend, but that's okay. There will be more weekends to come. I've watched my Christmas movie in the form of Tokyo Godfathers, and I have some plans for next week, including the four of us meeting up again Sunday evening after the ice skating class. Now it's time to get, hopefully, enough rest to tackle work again tomorrow. My last full week of work for this year. Time sure flies. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary. I almost forgot the advent calendar. I was counting up how many days until Christmas and realized that I should have started working on the advent calendar yesterday and almost forgot it completely. Which would have been an absolute shame because A, my mother got it for me, so it's special, and B, it's already so very cute. It's a box filled with individually wrapped presents of all different sizes and shapes, somehow neatly packaged into this box so perfectly that it was almost impossible to get out. Which is so my mom. She's so extra with all of this, and it's really sweet. She's also thoughtful when it comes to the items. Since I had to catch up, I opened two, and I got a pair of fuzzy socks, which would have been a godsend if Noir didn't like attacking my feet so much more in them. And I got a Lego. I think she talked to Rowan because I doubt she knew that Maple was my favorite Animal Crossing character, but she got me that particular Lego set, which made me so happy. I've already put it together, which I'd be more embarrassed about if it wasn't such a little set. It was 19 pieces. But she's so cute with her little pumpkin patch, and she sits on my desk now. It made me very happy, and I'm very excited to pull out more. I remember being the most excited for advent calendars when I was a kid. It was like a countdown to happiness, and it always got me so excited to see what waited for me. I remember one particular advent calendar that I loved that was an advent calendar full of chocolates. Those were always my favorite kind when I was little. After a time, my mom wanted to do something special, and us kids had our own designated advent calendars that she painted herself to be reused every year, and they were made of wood. Anything that was too big to fit in the little drawers got a piece of paper with letters on them, and well, they went to the wrapped gifts, so we'd still have a little bit of mystery every day. I was like that. When we moved out, Daisy and I had made plans to give each other our advent calendars on Halloween and to give them back filled on Thanksgiving. But then the flood happened and they got destroyed, so we never kept up the tradition. I miss that tradition. Maybe when I have kids, I'll bring it back. If I ever get that far. Anyway, I went to the store after work and started to pick up some things for people I've met here. They're small things, but since they've been so welcoming, I wanted to get them something. For Sally, I got her a hand massager since she's been complaining about the cold getting to the arthritis in her hands. For Frank, I went similar and got him a massager for his back that just sort of sits in his chair to help with the lower back pain he's been having. For the book club, I got each of them a set of disposable heat-up eye masks and a gift card for Audible. I also got a little extra something for Amelia, which is the same thing that I got for Clark and Leo. They each get a coin that depicts the Imperium of Man and a small set of dice. Not like it doesn't have very many, like they're actually tiny dice. I enjoyed picking out gifts for people, and I'm looking at seeing if there are any cards left on the angel trees. I've always wanted to do them, and what else am I making money for? I'll have to remember to wrap and take the gifts for Amelia, Clark, and Leo when I meet up on Sunday. I might just set a reminder. After I finish watching The Nightmare Before Christmas with Noir. We started a little late tonight. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary, I headed back to one of the big stores today to do one of those angel trees. I grabbed 2 tags, one a 9-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy. I'd watched a lot of those videos on angel tree shopping, so I felt like I knew a little bit more about what was going on and, well, what went into the actual shopping. To include starting with getting hygiene products for them. That was the pretty simple part. Just body wash, shampoo, conditioner, toothbrush, toothpaste, body lotion, and face cleanser. I got both kids a couple of sets of clothes and some shoes as well. Specifically, Marvel-themed shirts for my boy and Squishmallow-themed shirts for my girl. The girl wanted specifically craft and beauty supplies, so I set her up with some actually good art kits and sketchbooks, as well as a few craft kits. For the beauty supplies, I got her some cute face masks, some nail polish, and some cute Squishmallow chapstick. She also asked for a set of headphones, so I got her some Squishmallow-themed ones as well. Obviously, she likes Squishmallows, so I got her a 4-pack of the small Stitch ones that I thought were really cute and very soft. For the boy, well, he wanted a gaming headset and a new keyboard, so I got him both of those in a nice sleek black. I also loaded him up with some more outfits because that's what he asked for, as well as grabbing a small set of Funko Pop minis from the Marvel set because they're cute and I like them. Getting checked out was weirdly exciting, and I got to chatting with the cashier about the items that I was getting for the kids. On the way out, I actually ran into Stefan, though, who I was a little surprised to see since I was about an hour out of town, but then again, It's pretty normal for the locals from the town to do their big shopping here. I got to chatting with him again, and I find that he's surprisingly easy to talk to. I asked him about Charles, and he basically confirmed that it was as Charles had said. He'd been told about Noir and myself prior to our meeting, and knew pretty much off the bat who I was. I asked him about how he was doing, and if he'd donated anything else to the library since I'd been there. Surprisingly, he said he was going to do just that on the way back from his errands. When I asked him why he had so many old books and why he was donating them, he only answered the last question, and it was barely an answer. Cryptically, it was something along the lines of, I've learned all I've needed to learn from them, and they should continue to spread their potential to future generations, or something like that. I'm sure I'll eventually get used to the way this guy talks. The weirder part wasn't the very strange way he decided to phrase the words, I've read the books, so I'm giving them to the kids. No, the weirder part was the part where he talked about how I needed to be careful of the purple flowers that grow wild and bright against the white snow. It was such a weird phrase, I actually wrote it down. I have no idea what that means, and he said it in such a sinister way that I'm genuinely afraid that I'm going to find fresh purple blossoms in my garden beds if I look. Luckily, it was dark when I got home, so I was able to avoid seeing anything in my backyard. But I swear, if I find freshly bloomed purple flowers in the middle of the snow, I am committing arson. As he left, he did give me this book to read, said it would help, but I'm not ready to read it yet. I watched our usual film of Prep and Landing today, and it made me feel a little bit better until now. I'm sure it'll be fine in the morning. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, today was a wild ride. I took my morning run at Crystal Lake as usual, and I brought a Noir along with me, as he insists. It was a little warmer today, not in the single digits, so it was a nicer run, but I was lost in my own world. As I was running, I paused because I thought I heard whooping and then screaming and then a yell to move, which I did not move in time. I barely saw the sledder before I felt something clamp around my middle just as they crashed into me. Thank God for that grab, or I'd absolutely have wiped out and might have crushed Noir. Instead, I ended up landing hard in a lap as the sled skidded to a halt on the thankfully thoroughly frozen lake. It felt like we were both waiting for something to go wrong, for the ice to give out, for something to be broken. But it was fine. When I looked up to see who it was, surprise, surprise, just my luck, it was Clark. He was so sweet and asked if I was okay, and even checked up on Noir for me when I asked. Noir was fine, he was just grumpy. Clark was guilty and worried enough that I don't think he noticed how embarrassed I got sitting in his lap. We got up. Well, he got up. I tried a few times, but I'm much better on the ice with blades on my feet, apparently, because I could not stand up. Embarrassingly, he had to carry me off the ice. I almost forgot that he was the ice skate instructor for a reason. Clark walks on ice almost better than he does on solid land. After checking on me, he told me that Crystal Lake was actually the end spot for a notorious, if unsanctioned, sledding spot. It's at the bottom of two different hills that are reasonably bald of trees. Every year, the adults, well, Leo actually put it, dads and dudes, when he was explaining it later, will go out when the snow is good and start carving a smooth path for the sleds to follow that give a good, speedy descent. They usually lead it into the lake, only when the ice is thick enough, and compete to see who can put their sleds out the furthest. Clark was apparently the first person to go today, and almost no one uses the walking path around Crystal Lake in the winter, which I figured at this point since Stephen was the only person I've ever seen there prior to today. So they weren't expecting anybody to be down here and didn't even think to check. It's extremely bad timing that I got hit, but, I'm not going to complain. Clark offered to let me use his sled if I wanted to try, and I jumped at the chance. It looked like so much fun at the time, even if the trek back up the hill was a nightmare, and Leo teased us about the crash. And it was. It was a blast. Leo took care of Noir, who was not interested in going down with me, and let me borrow his sled instead so I could race against Clark for crashing into me. It was honestly, genuinely a really nice time, and I had so much fun just racing and sledding with the boys. It was a great time. It also put me back like 3 hours in work, and I was frozen when I got home, so I was working even throughout the movie for tonight, which was so funny because it was Scrooged, which felt silly to watch while I was working. But I am absolutely going to be feeling today in the morning, though. I am already sore. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, I understand what Stephen was talking about now. I was getting some stuff cleaned up in my office, which has a door into the backyard, and I happened to see some color in one of my flower beds that wasn't white. When I went to investigate, I found some flowers growing out of the snow. I don't know that I breathed for a good few minutes. There were purple flowers sticking out of the snow. I probably would have assumed they were spring crocus if it wasn't for Stephen's comment. Probably would have taken them inside. When I remembered that Stephen had given me a book, I went inside and grabbed it. I hadn't realized that it was a book about flowers when he gave it to me, but I hadn't looked at it at all. The book was covered in different notes from what seemed like two different people. One had very meticulous handwriting that looked like a typeface. The other was far more beautiful and delicate. On the page with the spring crocus, which was what I thought this plant was, there were a couple of lines. The one in the typeface handwriting read, "Do not mistake this for autumn crocus." The one in the beautiful handwriting read, "They will try to trick you. Look at it again." When I flipped to the page for the autumn crocus, I found a different picture of a different plant that looked similar to a spring crocus. But I was certain it was a spring crocus that I had seen. Yet something felt wrong, and I couldn't shake the need to check again. So I did. I swear it had looked like a spring crocus. But when I looked again, there was no doubt it was an autumn crocus, which are poisonous. Lethally so, specifically to cats. I'm glad I didn't pick it, and I'm glad for the warning, but I'm so confused. It scared me. There was something so weird about the whole situation, and I didn't even want to read into the book any further to see what they wrote about any of the flowers, especially the autumn crocus. So instead, I spent my time relaxing after work, getting a long bath in, doing face mask, reading for a while, things like that. watched Love Actually and got lost in the mundane but cute story. Wait, now that I'm writing this down, there's something a little odd. Even spring crocus don't usually bloom until the beginning of the year, and autumn crocus are supposed to bloom much earlier. Why was this blooming? I swear I didn't see it before. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary, I was so behind on my advent calendar stuff. I can't believe I forgot so many. I opened the 5 days I missed. Well, 3 I missed, plus today's, and ended up with a beautiful dark academia candle that smells of bergamot and something else I can't quite place. A set of beautiful black and gold D&D dice, a whole self-care package that would have been useful yesterday, and the cutest calcifer keychain that depicted him hanging off the log. I need to be better at remembering these calendars. It's like I'm out of practice. Today was the last full day of work for the week, so I treated myself to a fun night with Amelia. I asked her last second if she wanted to go to the Chirstkindl market. She said yes, so I picked her up to head there. I was already bustling, and I could smell so many yummy smells. There were a few things that Amelia said were must-dos, so we headed to those stalls first. The rocklet sandwich stall was packed, but when we got it, it was so worth the wait. It was this half wheel of cheese that smelled so good as it melted under this little heater, and then they tipped it and dumped it into a fresh half thing of bread. I was a little naughty and got myself 2. It was so delicious and so worth the calories. Every single one. Amelia also said that the Glühwein was a must and that I needed a mug from it for every year. The wine was good and it felt so warm in my chest, which was so nice because the night was cold again. Amelia and I wandered around with our food and it was amazing. So festive and nice, and there was a bunch of stalls full of yummy looking food, pretty local crafts, and live music. Amelia pulled me to a tent she was dying to go into, told me that she was worried about doing it alone, so we ended up taking a picture together with Mr. and Mrs. Claus. It was honestly really cute, and we were matching in our cute little vintage winter clothing. I haven't framed a picture in a while, mostly because printing out photos is such a hassle, but they printed a copy there and gave them to us, so I might find a frame and put it up somewhere. After we had our food and our pictures and our mugs, we walked the market and got to check out all of the stalls. There was a ton of food stalls for certain, but it was the cute little stalls selling cute little items that caught my attention the most. There were some stalls that sold the Alpine Village houses. Those were cute. I tried to resist buying another one, but Amelia convinced me that I needed the one that I was staring at, which was a model of the Hofburg Castle, or palace, or whatever it is. So I ended up getting that one. Amelia liked them too, so she got herself a horse-drawn cart with a beer keg on it. We also got a few trinkets, but I think my favorite trinket was the pair Amelia and I got at an ornament stall. We both got the same ornament that's just a golden bean. Because we're both nerds. And there were 2 separate piles of this bean on either side of the display, and we both picked it up at the same time and called it the Avenging Bean Counter. After we were done cackling about it, we each got one for the other and did a little trade, so it felt a little more special. It was a lot of looking around, taking pictures, watching the entertainment. It was fun and a nice distraction, honestly. I'm so glad that Amelia came with me, and I hope we can do this again next year. With being surrounded by all the vintage stuff, I got to chill out with some Charlie Brown Christmas. It was nice. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, Today's advent calendar had the cutest Switch card game holder thingy with these little Eevees on it. Eevee is my favorite Pokemon, but I've said that a lot to my mom, so she might not have needed Rowan for the help there. Today, I did a bit of baking and food preparation for the next few days, since it's going to be so close to Christmas, and I wanted to get some meals ready so I didn't have to cook on the actual holiday. It's not like I'm hosting or having people over anyway, so why worry about stressing over it? I spent a good chunk of time just enjoying my day, spending time with Noir, playing Switch games, cleaning up my house, and chilling, because I knew I was going to be spending a lot of energy tonight. And I was right. While Amelia and I were at the Christmas market yesterday, we saw a flyer for the Ice and Light Festival the town over. Amelia couldn't go with me, so I went by myself, but God, it was wonderful. Since I was driving there anyway, I started with the Light Festival, which was just this drivable stretch of road that put you in, under, and around all these beautiful lights. Some of the scenes were a little corny and silly, but it was charming. There was one that depicted a penguin diving off of a roof into a pool, and I think that one was my favorite of those. But my favorite part, period, was the archway of lights that led into a roundabout that had this huge tree with a actual real life Santa sitting in the front and waving. It was so cute, and I wish I wasn't driving and had thought to take a picture. I did wave though, and he did wave back. After I left and found a parking spot, I headed into the ice festival. It was a lot bigger than I thought it would be, with this centerpiece being this huge ice maze with ice sculptures at every dead end. I got a little lost in the middle, but I got out eventually, and I was happy to look around at the sculptures and listen to the families talk and laugh while I was lost. There was also an ice slide that I was too shy to try. Maybe I'll drag Amelia out at some point and make her do it with me so I don't have to do it alone. There was a food and beverage section, and since it was an ice festival, there were ice quote unquote tables that had drinks on it, and even some apple juice served in ice mugs. Even with the paper towels for the handles, it was cold to hold, but it was fun. And when you finished, you got to either get a refill or throw the ice at a target, which I thought was a fun and creative way of dealing with it. There were some beautiful ice sculptures, and it's amazing how people can make these kinds of things out of literally frozen water. I spent a few hours there, and when I got home, I was frozen and stiff and sore. Worth it, but I spent like an hour in the bath trying to defrost. I actually ended up watching the movie for today, Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, in my bath. Noir was a little grumpy that he didn't get cuddle time, so I did watch another movie with him, so I guess technically I'll be watching 26 movies for the countdown, as I watched Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas as well. Now that I'm warm, and with ice skating and dinner with the others looming tomorrow, I'm actually going to turn in early tonight. So, love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, today started out great with the most beautiful bullet journal from Archer and Olive with this beautiful bookshelf embossed on the front. That was my advent calendar for today, and it was gorgeous. I spent a good chunk of the day working out and getting some of the gifts I needed to give out wrapped. I did stop at Frank and Sally's house to give them their present to put under their tree. I did stay longer than I intended, and ended up getting some food, too, since Sally wouldn't take no for an answer. It was a yummy sandwich, though, and it was nice to sit there and talk with the two of them for a while without having to worry about work or having to leave or anything. I got a lot of stories from their past Christmases and their plans for the days ahead. After Mass, they're going to their oldest's for Christmas and to spoil the grandkids. They didn't let me head back without food, so I have even more food for Christmas. I think I'm set for the rest of the year. I did manage to get it into the fridge, though I almost left it on the counter where Noir was trying to get at it. Ice skating lessons went smoothly, and Clark is impressed by my progress. Ice skating lessons went smoothly, and Clark is impressed by my progress, which is really sweet. I don't know why I am so much better at skating after just a few lessons. Maybe I'm just a natural at ice skating. In the summer, I'm going to try roller skating to see if the skill translates. Hopefully they will, because I've always wanted to roller skate around places. I was going to help Amelia since she was still struggling, but Leo beat me to it, so I let the two of them spend most of the time together and worked on getting a little faster now that I'm stable. At the end of class, I found out why Amelia insisted on her driving us this time. She told me that it was because I drove her last time. Turns out it was a ploy for her to get with Leo and force me to go with Clark. I hate her. I love her, but I hate her. It was a little awkward at first, but Clark's really good at easing those kinds of situations, so we got to talking quickly. I told him about the avenging bean counter that I got for Amelia and she got for me, and he had a good laugh about it. He asked which stall I got it from, so I think he might end up getting one of his own at some point soon. When we got to the restaurant, it was a little crowded, but luckily, Leo had been smart enough to get a reservation ahead of time, so we got seated quickly. I'm reminded of White Christmas. Isn't this cozy? Boy, girl, boy, girl. Because Amelia basically shoved me into my own booth and took the one opposite so that I had to sit next to Clark. I must have been the most unsubtle person on the planet because we haven't even talked much about my liking Clark, but she knows. I know she knows. Regardless, it was a great dinner, and we got to talking about whatever came to mind. A lot of Warhammer and video games. By the end, Clark asked if we'd be up for doing it for the next 2 Sundays after class. He has 2 more classes he's teaching and says he tends to be starving afterwards. I couldn't even say anything before Amelia agreed for me, but Clark was kind of impatient enough to wait for my answer as well. I agreed, of course, and would have booked it out of there if Clark hadn't insisted on taking me home. It was a nice little drive, and we talked a lot again. Just calm topics I can't even remember. I just remember his voice and his eyes when he'd glance away from the road for a moment to look at me. I was probably bright red, but hopefully it was too dark to notice. I feel like a teenager. I shouldn't be reacting this much. When we got there, I thought about inviting him in, but the confirmation kind of cruised away from it. He made sure I got to my door, and I waved him good night, so he knew I was safe. I probably could have invited him in with some slight comment about being cold, but I chickened out and watched him leave from my window. I barely even paid attention to the Christmas story when I put it on. I just kept thinking about Clark. I should have invited him in. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary, today's advent calendar was a book called The Silversmith by L.J. Claren, which looks good. It's a romantasy with a female protagonist that does look interesting. The timing was perfect. I wanted to head to the library for some extra books for the holidays, so after work I made the trip out there. I dropped off some sweets for Charles and was looking around for some books that looked good when I overheard a couple of other people that worked at the library. The older woman was Sophia and the younger was Emma. Emma is apparently in charge of doing the reading for the kids usually, but she sounded awful. Not to be mean about it. Her voice was completely wrecked, and I heard her talking to Sophia about her cold and how it had ruined her voice so that she wouldn't be able to read to the children for their last story time. She thought she'd have enough voice, but she overestimated it. They caught me eavesdropping, which was embarrassing, but I got to talking to them, which is how I got their names, and offered to help. They jumped at the chance and basically shoved me into the reading room with a copy of The Night Before Christmas. So I read it to the kiddos. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads, and Ma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprung from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon, on the barest of new-fallen snow, gave lustre of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas, too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys was flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry, his cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. A stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed, like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and lay his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprung to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." I felt so warm watching them get so enraptured by the poem. The kids were so cute. I was fighting the cute aggression so hard. I just wanted to squish their cute little chubby cheeks. I managed to get out of there without squishing any children, and enjoyed my movie with Noir, the Polar Express this time. I think I want to make that a tradition when I have my own kids, to read the night before Christmas to them. I'm looking forward to that. Eventually. Love and hugs. Violet. Dear Diary, today was my last day of work for the year. I managed to convince my boss to let me off until the beginning of the year, so I am done as of today. Goodbye, 2025. I am a free woman for the next 2 weeks. It was a little bittersweet, though. It left me too much time to think. Christmas is so close, just a few days away, and the lonely feeling hit me again. So, instead of dwelling on it, I spent the whole day focusing on myself. I basically took myself out on a date, and it was fantastic. After I finished my work, I actually headed over to a local park with a trail through the woods to walk in the trees and snow again. Took a few more pictures for Casey while I was at it. It was like walking through a winter wonderland, and the path was pretty well marked even in the snow, so I let my mind wander as I walked. Not to the stuff that's sitting at the back of my head, but to fantasies. like I'm a lost princess trudging through the snow to get away from the coup that took the life of my family and is leaving me alone. I'll collapse in the snow and be found by the prince of a rival nation of so-called savages who are actually people I've been trained to hate but are really kind and reasonable people. Or I'm a sister of battle, flung far away and trudging through the snow to get back to the fight to save my sisters, serve the Emperor, and maybe get into a fight alongside a space marine in this thick snow. Just stupid little fantasies that occupy my mind and let me stop thinking about the loneliness for a while. When I came back, I got myself cleaned up, warm, washed, and dressed like I would if I went out on a real date, and I took myself out. I hit up a nice bakery first, sat down, and actually enjoyed my meal. I was very specific to not pick up my phone while I ate, doing some people watching instead. I think looking at all the people having fun and being together during the holidays makes it worse for me. It was kind of a bummer that I didn't get started on my solo date until later in the evening because it would have been nice to do a full day date with myself. I think I'll start doing those more often. It was nice to be able to not worry or think about work, about life, about anything. Even self-care nights have been a bit rough, so this was a nice change of pace. I opened my Advent when I got home, since I forgot it that morning, and found the most beautiful, delicate butterfly necklace with beautiful translucent wings and a pearl abdomen. Mom sure knows how to pick out the most beautiful jewelry. Kind of wish I had opened it earlier and dressed up even more for my date with myself. I deserve it. But it's okay. I'll wear it tomorrow and give myself an excuse to dress nice, even if I don't have any virtual meetings. Tonight, I challenged myself to watch Trading Places. I've been watching that movie for years, and some of what's going on still goes over my head, but I think I'm starting to figure it out. Not enough to go into stock trading, though. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, I still want to cry. I actually remembered to open my Advent this year, and it's probably one of the sweetest presents I've ever received. It's this little ornament that's like a magic ball. It came pre-charged and loaded and plays these videos of my family saying Merry Christmas to me. It's about 2 minutes long and just shuffles between my parents, each of my siblings, and even my extended family. It came with a note that said that Mom wanted the house to feel less lonely. I decided then to head to the mall. I didn't think about not having photos for Christmas, so I wanted to make a little Christmas album for my family, specifically my mother, to let them know that I'm doing fine and having fun. I already had my little winter photo shoot, my pictures with Amelia and such, but I decided I would set out today and work on taking photos of the town, of the people I've met, and of my life. I got a picture of Noir and his cute little bow and collar in the snow first. I swear this cat knows he's getting his picture taken because as soon as I pulled out the camera, he stopped fussing about the cold and the snow and started preening and sat cute for his pictures. It was less than 5 minutes in the cold, but he still got a lot of treats for being a good boy. I went to Frank and Sally's place after that, took pictures of the outside and of me outside the store before heading in. This was their last day open. They were going to visit their family in the morning tomorrow since they have Mass today, so they decided to keep the store open just in case. I got a picture with the two of them, including the cutest one where Sally is giving me a hug while Grinchmas Frank pretended to be all grumpy in his adorable little Santa hat and Christmas tie. After, I headed to the library, which was also open. Charles said he didn't have much going on, so wanted to keep the library open for anyone who needed a warm place to stay. He even had fresh cookies and hot chocolate that the girls made. I managed to get a picture with all three of them, as well as a picture of the library's Christmas setup. It was so cute, and I know my mother's going to love the look. I wanted a solo picture of myself with a mall Santa, like the old Christmas cards we used to do, and headed to the mall then for a little bit of a treat and a photo session. Lo and behold, I get there, a little embarrassed, but it's for my mom, so I tough it out, and go to sit at one of the stools next to Santa when he spoke to me. Apparently, our local mall Santa is Stephen. He didn't make fun of me for taking pictures with him, but he did laugh when he saw my face when I did a double take upon hearing him. After we took the picture, he asked me something I hadn't really thought about for a while. He asked me what I wanted for Christmas. Typical Santa things, sure, but something about it made me realize I haven't wanted anything for Christmas in a long time, and I can't remember the last time I'd asked for anything. Is this what it's like to grow up, or am I just struggling? I made some joke, but I swear he could see straight through it. He let me go without pressing it, but it weighed on my mind. After that, I went around town taking pictures of the town square, the lake I run at, the sledding spot, and my house when I got back. After putting them all into a digital photo album, I sent them to my mom and siblings and promptly turned on Elf and took a nap since I was going to be up late for midnight mass. When I met up with Sally, which Noir did not like me leaving that late at night, and certainly not in the heavy snow, Sally was cheerful and seemed so peaceful, even more than usual. She guided me around, introduced me to everyone, showed me the cookies and hot chocolate, and let me sit next to her as they did the sermon. I'll admit I wasn't paying attention. I just kept looking at the huge Christmas tree they had, getting lost in the lights and thinking about what Stephen said earlier. What did I want for Christmas? I thought back to the number of times I was lonely when my bed felt too cold, even with Noir, when I'd open my mouth in my silent house to voice a funny thought, only to realize that no one would respond. I'm glad Frank and Sally are so kind. They didn't even point it out when I started crying. Frank even handed me a candy cane, which I think he stole from the tree. It was good. The weather was bad as I drove home, and between it and the tears, it was a little hard to see, but I managed to make it home in one piece, and now I'm here. I think what I want for Christmas, more than anything, is someone to share it with. Love and hugs, Violet. Dear Diary, I don't even know where to begin with today. Merry Christmas, I suppose. After finishing in my journal yesterday, I got all of 2 hours of sleep before I was woken up by someone knocking on my door. I might not have noticed if Noir hadn't pounced on my stomach in his mad dash for the door. Dragging myself out of bed was difficult, but I held myself to the door and opened it to find Clark. He looked so cold and even had a cut on his head. He seemed just as surprised as I was by who was on the other side of the door. The blizzard was still going, so I pulled him inside and shoved him onto my couch while I lit a fire before I even asked any questions. He was trying to explain at first, but his teeth were chattering so bad and he was shivering so hard that it wasn't even worth it. I got him some hot cocoa and got him warmed up before he explained. He was on his way home on Christmas Eve from a party at a friend's house. Luckily he wasn't drinking, but the weather got so bad that he was struggling. He was doing okay until he slid into a patch of ice right into a ditch and got stuck. He tried for a while to get his car out, but slipped at some point and smacked his head on the metal bit that hooks and holds the door closed while he was trying to climb back inside to warm up. When he realized he was bleeding and the car wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, he went looking around and knocking on doors to see if someone was still home. All of my neighbors are traveling for the holidays, so I was the only one who answered the door. He said he was grateful it was me, and I echoed the sentiment. He managed to call a tow truck to try and get his car out of the ditch, but they were closed and it wasn't an emergency, so he decided to leave it and not worry about paying the fee that would be for calling the emergency vehicle. After treating his head wound, we both kind of ended up talking on the couch for hours until the sun eventually came up. He said that he had a Christmas trip planned with his family, but it wasn't until the 28th, so we spent Christmas together. I opened the last advent calendar gift and cried in front of him. Mom made me a refillable advent calendar, just like the one that was lost in the flood. He did make fun of me and cracked a few jokes that made me laugh. It was probably the best holiday I've had in a long time. We watched my last holiday movie in the Santa Claus trilogy, ate and baked yummy food, played video games, crashed on the couch after a food coma, and at the end of the night, as we were talking, something came up that I don't even remember, and I blurted out that I had a crush on him. It was so embarrassing in the moment, but he kissed me, and I guess we're dating now. Oh, I'm running out of room. I can't believe I'm almost done with this whole book already. It's only been a couple of months since Sally bought it for me, but they've been an eventful and fun couple of months. And I don't feel lonely anymore. I can't wait to see what the future holds. Love and hugs, Violet.